Hello and welcome to web series. Today I'm going to be showing you how to apply CSS to HTML forms. Now in our previous class on HTML, I taught us how to write HTML forms code, how we can apply HTML to create forms that we use to receive or collect data and as well save or display data. Right now on your screen, you're going to be seeing some HTML code that I've written here. Now this is the code. Let's check it out on our web browser. So you can see full name, you can see phone number, email, gender, and the submit button. Now we've done this in our HTML class, but right now today I want to show you how you can make this look beautiful using CSS. Now in the course of our CSS tutorials, I've shown us so many things about CSS: borders, padding, margin, and so on and so forth, font size, text align. We use all these things to beautify our HTML elements. So now if you look at this screen again, you discover that the HTML form is looking very raw, but by the time we are done applying CSS to it, it will add a little bit of beauty to it. So let's go straight to the point. So the first thing I want to do here is to write my inline style sheet, my internal style sheet rather. I might decide to use inline style sheet today anyway. We have been using internal style sheet for a while now. So let's start by writing our style, and then we close the style. Now after that has been done, now I want to change the way the border of the HTML form is looking like. So I am going to come here and say input. Remember, the element for form is input depending on the form element. Like this one now, this has to do with the drop down. We use select. So I'm going to come here and say input, my open and my closing curly bracket. I'm going to say border, let's say border color. The border color should be, let's say, red. I'm looking for something that is obvious when we use it. So I'm going to save this one. We'll be doing it one after the other, so you see how they function. Border color is red, so I've made the border color of this form to be red. So the next thing I'm going to do, I would say border radius. I want to change how it is looking, how the border looks like. Border radius, let's say I want it to be 8 pixels. I'm saving it. We will see it in our web browser. Okay, this is 8 pixels. One thing about designing is whatever effect you apply, you just have to look at it so that if it does not look like what you want it, you can always change it. For instance, if 8 pixels was not giving me what I want, I would have changed it to 10 pixels. So let's look at 10 pixels. 10 pixels might just be better than 8 pixels. So you must always check your work to see what you are doing. Okay, I love 8 pixels more, but let me just leave it at 10 pixels. The most important thing is that you've gotten what I was talking about. So I can decide to increase the width. I can decide to increase the width of the border of the form rather. Okay, let's say the width, I'm making the width to be 300 pixels. Let's see what 300 pixels is all about. very small, right? So, oh, it's 30 pixels, sorry. Let's make it 300. So let's see. Okay, you can see how 300 looks like. So I want to increase the height a little bit. I'm going to increase the height. So I'm going to say height. I want it to be, let's say, 50 pixels. 50 pixels might be very small, but let's see. Okay, this is 50 pixels, but let me make it 30 so that it look normal. You can see I'm doing it and I'm checking it out. So okay, so let's leave it at 30 pixels. And then the next thing I'll be doing again is to look at the font. Now if you look at it here, you discover that the font inside here, which is the placeholder, is a little bit big and I want it to be small. So I will come here and say font size. You see, we did all these things in our other CSS tutorial. So I'm going to come here and say font size. I want it to be 12 pixels. I want our font size to be 12 pixels. So you can see that the fonts are now very small. So looking at this one here is select. You can see that every other thing we applied on these other forms did not affect this gender, because the gender is not making use of this input element. It is making use of the select element. So I'm going to apply this same code to the drop down menu we created with select. So I'm going to change this part to select. Remember, looking at it here, you can see here is select. So let's change this to select, because we want to affect that and want them to look exactly the same with the normal input input form rather. So let's check this out, how it looks like now. So you can see this is the gender button now. You can just click on it. You can see male or female. So you can change how the option looks like if you choose to. But in this tutorial, I'm just going to show you how to affect the entire select form, which you have seen now. Then if you look at it now, you can see that this is the button to submit this form. I want to change how the button looks like. So let me scroll down. Okay, so when you look at it, you can see that the CSS we apply internally is affecting the entire HTML form. Now, if you want it to affect a particular HTML form, there are two ways to do it. It's either you use your ID or your class to differentiate each form or each element, or you write an inline style sheet rather. So in this tutorial, I'm going to use an inline style sheet. I just want to affect only this input element for this button. So I'm going to write my inline style sheet. So we are going to use inline style sheet this time around. Now if you follow this tutorial, you will see that I talked about three different type of style sheets: the external style sheet, the internal style sheet, and the inline style sheet. And I said we are going to be using more of internal style sheet in this tutorial, but today I want to use inline. So inline style sheet is that type of style sheet that you write inside a particular code, just as I'm about to do now. So what you do first is to start with the style. Then what I want to do, I want to say the background color should be blue. So my background color, I said it should be blue. So you see that my button is going to be different now. It is now blue. And then if you look at it, what we have here, the text there is black in color. So I can decide to change it by saying color should be white. Now, let me explain this. Now, if you look at it, background color means you are changing the background color of that particular form or element. While color means you are changing the text color of that word element. So, anytime you're writing your CSS and you say you want to change that text, you can say color, you put it white, color, black, blue, and so on and so forth. So, I'm going to save this and let's see how it looks like. So you can see that our color is now showing white. Now let's look at the labels. The labels are too big for my liking. I can come here and reduce the size, and as well I can try to change the colors of the label. So I just want to affect the entire label once. So I'm going to use my internal style sheet here. I'll come over here and say label. Okay, so I can say font size. Now I'm saying all the font size for all of the label should be 12 pixels, and I want the color to be blue. That means the text to be blue. So ladies and gentlemen, I just changed how the labels are looking like. So the color is blue, the font size is 12 pixels. But I might just decide to increase the spaces between this form a little bit. So I'll just come over here and add one more break to each of them. Okay, so let me test this to see how it works. Alright, so I'm gonna apply all of that to the rest of the forms. So let's see how everything looks like on our web browser. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, you can see how it's looking like right now on our web browser. This is how you can affect your HTML form with CSS. Mind you, this is just a practical on how to do it. You can even make yours to be much more beautiful, add more style to it, more swag to it, and then it looks extremely beautiful. But in this tutorial, I just want to show you how you can apply CSS to HTML form. Now, stay connected right here with us on Web Series.